Hello everyone, Dane Smith here, wanting to talk briefly about the difference between what you are and who you are. Um, just so happens that this video takes place shortly after I've shaved, by about a week, so y'all get the unique opportunity to be able to see what I look like underneath the beard, which really kind of adds into the point here. Because if you are just judging someone based on what they are, how they look, or something of that nature, something that's very shallow, then you're inclined to make prejudice. Prejudice is, of course, prejustice. This means making a decision on somebody before you've actually analyzed any of the facts. The cure for prejudice is to be more concerned with who somebody is rather than what somebody is. An example for that, I am a white guy. You can make an awful lot of judgments about white men. A lot of them are stereotypically correct. I, however, do not uphold or adhere to most of those stereotypes. If you go as Jewish stereotypes, on the other hand, you'll find that I kind of live up to many of those. But even still, I'm not all of them, and they are not all of me. One of the largest disservices that we do to our children here in the United States these days is that we ask them when they're very little, we ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And usually we give occupations. I want to be a fireman, I want to be a mom, I want to be whatever. That's not even what you are, that's what you do. What you do are your passions, are your vocations. These are activities. But just being a fireman, just being a police officer has nothing to do with who you are as a person. You can be a police officer. You can have two police officers standing side by side. One of them could be an absolute dick, and then the other one can be, practically a saint. Being a police officer has nothing to do with who they are. And it's prejudicial to judge somebody. You're wearing an officer uniform, obviously you're a jerk. That's prejudiced and has nothing to do with who they are. If you want to know about who somebody is, you start with the things of what they are, not what they do. What you are, these are character traits. These are things that are like generosity. If you are a generous person, are you an intellectual person? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? You can even throw in right-handed or left-handed. The things about what you are play into who you are. A lot of people run into identity crises when something dramatic happens. The artist who loses their dominant hand, for example, they may suffer an identity crisis because now the thing that they chose to identify themselves as, I am an artist, they can no longer do, or they perceive that they can no longer do. Many artists have taught themselves to paint with a different limb, a different portion of their body. Joni Eareckson Tada was something of an artist, and after she became a quadriplegic, she learned how to paint using her mouth. And her artwork sold very well. In fact, because the change in her spirit and of who she was, she changed how she painted. And it wasn't just the fact that everything was done without use of her hands, it was also the fact that there was a very different person painting now. Who she was changed. If you were to ask me who I am, I would say that I am the sum of all of my decisions and experiences. The sum or the average. If you want to get really technical on it, I'm the weighted average. I am more who I am or who I was yesterday than who I was 10 years ago. this is who I am. I am a man who is young of body, younger of face, young at heart, but old of mind and soul. I had a very good childhood. I had a very rough young adult life, and that was all completely my own fault. I did it to myself. It was my choice to go there. I went there and I came out a very dark and torn up person. And then I got over it. People who have been through some serious hardships in life, they look at me and they go, that man's been through some stuff. Why? Because they recognize it. A lot of people look at me and all they see are the face. With the beard, I'm put generally somewhere in my 20s, usually in my younger 20s. Without the beard, I'm straight up college student. On a snap judgment of what I look like, that's what I get placed as. I am not an old man. I am middle-aged. In my relatively moderate adult life, I have stood on 4 continents. I have seen the aurora borealis. I have been through war. I have been through places where, or been to places and lived among people who were the dregs and the darkest of humans that walk this face of this earth. And among them, I was one of the worst. I have walked with friends who had committed crimes that they could never speak of, and I have walked among friends who were innocent and naive to the true darkness that a human being can become. I believe I'm one of the few people I know who's been to that side of the world, come out of it, and still believes in the inherent goodness and potential of mankind. I am artistic. I am a warrior of spirit. My greatest pride is in my ability with words, my ability to tell stories, my ability to write. Language is my greatest weakness and has become one of my greatest strengths as well, because the decades of fighting that my mother and I went through in order to get me just to be able to read and speak legibly and with some level of affluence has put me as more eloquent than the majority of my peers. And I take a lot of pride in that. The work that I went through to be able to just communicate properly, to be able to clearly articulate what it is I'm trying to say, is my greatest achievement in life. I do not think that there will be anything in my past. There may be something in my future that I hold as a greater achievement. I would think that becoming a father would be a greater achievement. It's a challenge I've never had the pleasure of participating in. But to date, nothing I have done, not the bridges or the power lines that I manage the contracts for to get built, not the lives that I've saved or the ones that I've sacrificed, nothing that I have done compares to that, because none of them took the same amount of effort to achieve. Most everything that I've done, that I put my hand to, I've been good at. I am blessed and burdened with a phenomenal intellect. My IQ has been tested as high as 154. That was on the Mensa entrance exam. I turned it down because I did not feel like just deleting emails. That was basically my friend who ran the test told me that's what he did with most of his email, or with most of his work in the Mensa, was deleting emails. Didn't appeal to me. I get enough spam in my email already. He said that my IQ was probably higher because I have a very great ability, aptitude, and natural talent for taking high-level concepts, breaking them down into generic terms, and explaining them to somebody who theoretically does not have the brain power to be able to comprehend the concept in the first place. His estimate was that my IQ was somewhere in the 160s. This means that I have a brain that just does not shut up. I overthink everything, I overanalyze everything that I do, and I miss a lot of the nuances that people who are not overanalyzing put value on. I'm blunt. I am sympathetic, but not empathetic. And I have a very strong natural inclination to mentor somebody. From the time I was a child, I've always been trying to help people better themselves, learn a new skill, something of that nature. I do not find myself interesting, but that's because the things that I find interesting in people are those people who have creative pursuits. I don't find myself as having a lot of time for creative pursuits. Too busy trying to make money and, keep a roof over my head, food on the table. So my creative pursuits is something that I put aside for a very long period of time. I'm just now getting back into. However, while I'm very straightforward and simple to understand, if you're not looking for hidden messages and meanings in the things that I say, if you just take me at face value, I'm very simple and easy to understand. You just have to accept the fact that I'm very unusual at where I'm coming from. And these are all things that if you roll them up into, you get me. That's who I am. That's actually not even all of who I am. That's only just a decent portion of who I am. I am, to me, the sum of all of my decisions and experiences. They have all shaped me into who I am today. And if you take the time to get to know who I am, then you'll understand that there's a lot of what I ams that go into who I am. So in your own life and in the lives of your friends, consider that. Consider the difference between what they are and who they are. When you're approaching somebody for the first time, are you more interested in finding out what they are, or are you more interested in finding out who they are? I emphasize the who someone is. Other people choose to emphasize the what someone is. You make your decision on that. But realize that there is a difference. There is a very, very big difference between what somebody is and who somebody is. Thank you for your time.